How's it going, everyone? What an absolute dichotomy, disparity, whatever you want to say for PlayStation over the last few weeks. A few weeks ago, they dropped a game that I would say the entire gaming world was down on. I just recently did a video reacting to that initial trailer that I just thought was an abomination, and I've been down on it ever since that trailer. That trailer just annoyed me to no end, and then when the game was officially revealed, generic hero shooter, you guys already know the deal, Concord. It's been talked about quite a lot. The game is shutting down. However, come tomorrow, we are gonna see the release of Astro, a genre that PlayStation doesn't cover a lot in throwback platformers and nostalgic platformers that also, this game absolutely utilizes all of the benefits of the PlayStation 5. And this is one of the best received PlayStation 5 games of all time. This is one of the best received games of the year. It might end up winning a Game of the Year award based on its Metacritic score right now of a 94. Yes, it is sitting on a 94, and that's not on just a couple of critic reviews. That's 100 critic reviews, and I am so happy that a game like this is being received so well, because when a game that kind of comes out of nowhere, don't get me wrong, there were people excited about Astrobot, but this was absolutely a game that was going to make it or break it based on the reception of the game. Astrobot's been around. Astro's Playroom was a free-to-play. Astrobot had a VR release, but as an IP, Astrobot is not established, and this is really Astrobot's first foray as an authentic big-budget title. Not necessarily big budget in the sense of $70, but it's a $60 release. It's playable on the PlayStation 5 without VR, and it's a platformer. That's a genre that those charming, cute platformers that PlayStation doesn't have a lot of. In fact, when I do my deals videos, a game that usually goes for under $5 that I mention a lot is Rayman Legends, and Rayman Legends is a game that offers a genre that PlayStation doesn't have a lot of. It's not like Nintendo where they have games like Mario and they have a plethora of them, and Astrobot offers something that can legitimately be not only a new IP for Sony, don't get it twisted, this is absolutely something that Sony is going to build upon. Based on the success of this and based on some of the rumblings we've already heard, a follow-up title to this may already be in development. But when you look at this reception, on top of that, Astrobot now has the potential to be a legitimate mascot for Sony. Like, if you're talking about catering to a younger audience, Astrobot is that game now for Sony. I'm not saying Astro is ever gonna be as big as Mario. What I am saying for Sony is it can facilitate the creation of a new audience for them. And PlayStation, I'm not saying you gotta make games like Astrobot, these cute, charming platformers, to draw in a younger crowd. Bro, there are kids these days that are playing GTA Online. Like, you don't need an Astrobot, but certainly as far as, a dad getting their kid a game and enjoying a game with their kid, their younger sibling, whatever the case may be, Astrobot is exactly that in terms of drawing in a younger audience. And on top of that, it does something so well where, yes, as far as the game goes, this cute platformer, it can draw in a younger audience. At the same time, an older crowd is absolutely going to be into a game like this because it's a celebration of PlayStation. Over the last couple of decades, if you grew up with PlayStation, Astrobot is a total love letter to you because it calls back on so many PlayStation IPs, and we need a game like this to succeed. What have I been talking about in recent videos? Look, we've got games like Concord coming out, $150 million being just absolutely wasted on a game like that. What does PlayStation have in their back pocket? A plethora, a wealth of iconic IPs. People want a new Sly Cooper. People want a new Jak and Daxter. People want original games from PlayStation that aren't necessarily all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, people absolutely want the games at the scale of Ghost of Tsushima, at the scale of Horizon, at the scale of Uncharted, Last of Us, so on and so forth, but that is not going to be sustainable for every studio. We all know this. I've talked about it over and over again. These massive teams where the games are in development for 5 to 7 years and, it takes forever for these games to come out. That's just not going to be a sustainable model for every studio, and you can't expect every game to be a return on that investment. Astrobot was a smaller scale project done by a smaller team, and I am praying to the high heavens that this game does well, because if this game does well, that is justification for Sony to once again invest into smaller scale games and different styles of game, while also having their finger on the pulse on what their consumer base wants. Their consumer base does not want a hero shooter for $40 with disgusting character design. Have your finger on the pulse on what your consumer wants, and things change year over year. We are a fast-moving industry, the gaming world is. Yes, back when Sly Cooper Thieves in Time came out in 2013, I believe it was, it didn't do gangbuster commercial numbers. I'm sorry, but that is the reality of the situation. However, we are a decade removed from the release of Thieves in Time. I truly believe if Sly got a new release in 2024, 2025, whatever, it would do fairly well. And at the end of the day, we all know that Sly Cooper is not going to be this 30-40 hour experience. Astrobot is very similar in that regard, where it's an 8 to 12 hour game, 20 hour for the platinum or so, even shorter if you have a guide. But hopefully this game does well, because I don't need every game to be a Ubisoft bloated open world. I just don't need that in my life. I know a lot of you guys don't need that. Am I gonna be down with the lengthy RPG? Yeah, all the time in fact. But it's like flavors of ice cream. I don't want chocolate all the time. Sometimes I want vanilla, and Astrobot offers me something a little bit different. That's so much of what the PlayStation library is, that games like this, I just pray that they can actually work. Smaller games that have so much soul and so much life to them, because that will establish the fact that Sony can do games like a Sly Cooper. They can do a game like Jack. They can take risks here and there. Maybe a new Gravity Rush. That's not going to be a $200 million project that's going to sell 80 billion copies, but a smaller scale project that's going to do well. And Astrobot, after this reception, I see it doing very, very well. And then ultimately, you can take those games, you could release them on PC as well, get a return on investment that way. I just think there's so much potential for Sony to be spending their resources on games like Astrobot, games like a new Sly Cooper, games like original IPs that are, yes, taking risks, but at the same time, at least have the potential to resonate with the PlayStation audience. Concord, if you told me that right out the gate when PlayStation really invested into that game back in 2021, I would have told you this would have been a disaster. Well, look at the character designs, and I could have told you this game was going to be a train wreck. Like, it doesn't take rocket science. At least take risks that are calculated, and a game like Astrobot, I really do feel like it's a calculated risk that is going to pay off. Concord is not a calculated risk. It's just burning money. That's what that game is. And Astrobot is what we need more of, and I do feel like you need to have your finger on the pulse of your consumer base, not just from, oh, 10 years ago Sly Cooper didn't do all too well. Well, what about 2024? What about the time where you're releasing your games on PC and there's going to be another audience captivated by those games? That's what people really want out of PlayStation. And I'm not saying don't do multiplayer games. If you do multiplayer games, do a Killzone Remaster. You feel me? I'm telling you, a Killzone Remaster would have done way better than what Concord did. And, you know, Fair Game seems to be a game that people are excited for, but, excuse me, not excited for. I don't think anybody's really excited for it, but it seems like there's more internal confidence in Fair Game rather than Concord, where Concord there wasn't a lot of that. But Astrobot is really signaling what I want to see more out of PlayStation, and I hope we get more investment out of this. And I saw a comment that said, hey, outside of Naughty Dog, the live service push didn't really affect first-party output. Yeah, it didn't affect first-party output that, you know, Guerrilla's still working on their games, Santa Monica's still working on their games, but when they decided to invest so much money into the Concords of the world and the Fair Games of the world, they could have reallocated those investments with more calculated risks that people would have actually appreciated, like a new Sly Cooper. I actually don't think this would have been the year to drop a new Sly Cooper. I just think this year you really needed a game on the scale of a Spider-Man 2. Like, could you imagine if we had a Spider-Man 2 level game to go with Astrobot this fall? People would have been like, yo, PlayStation is awesome. It just takes one game in conjunction with another. Astrobot's just not that big budget title that the whole gaming world is going to look at least prior to its release. Now with this kind of reception, that might honestly change, but imagine we got, let's say this fall, we got Astrobot and Ghost of Tsushima 2 or something like that, and people would have been like, yo, this is a great time to own PlayStation. It's crazy how like one game can really change the perception, but that's really all you need, especially with the reception of Astrobot like this. Yes, have your heavy hitters, but have your smaller scale games that are gonna add a little bit of a different flavor to your library. I think you get the best of both worlds with that, and with a a game like Astro, again, it represents a calculated risk that is paying off. Concord represents you just burning money, at least in my humble opinion. That's gonna do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts. So happy to see the reception of this game. I get it. This isn't gonna be a game for everyone. Some people, I've seen it in my comment section, I don't want to spend $60 on this game. But for the people that want games like Sly Cooper, that want games like Jak and Daxter, that want games that aren't 80 billion hours long and offer a different kind of gaming experience that you're gonna enjoy and resonate with, support Astrobot. You had the opportunity to support a game if you wanted more hero shooters. Clearly, y'all don't want more hero shooters. If you want more games that are charming, that are a little bit different than what PlayStation usually puts out, support Astrobot, and I think we're due for more investments in this style of gaming. And, you know, Gravity Rush 3, where you at? But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.